What's going on, folks? How's everyone doing on this Wednesday, April 17th? Hopefully, you're having a great week. It's midweek for most of us. I got to work on Saturday, but anyway, ironically, I'm having a pretty decent week, so I hope you are as well. In case you don't know, I am your host, Lee Black. This is a live edition of Real Talk for Real Men. So hopefully, we're going to have a great conversation today, and we're going to get things started by first and foremost bringing in the co-host from Memphis, Tennessee. This is Tasha, everyone. What's going on, McMac?
Not much. Not much, but it's Wednesday.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we always say. By the time we end this show, folks, we'll be on the other side of the week. And again, for most people, that signals to just that close to the weekend. I've got to put in an extra day. So it is what it is. But we got the super fan in the house, Carol. How you doing, Miss Carol? Uh,
Carol.
Good to see you. Good to see you as always. So anytime, look, we have I'm not Jesus, folks. The Bible says we're two or more gathered in his name, so I'm not going to make that claim. But where there is a third person that joins, we are going to do a show. So we hope we get some family members, who knows? But being that Miss Carol is watching and we're here, well, why not? Let's just do a show. So anyway, before we get
Let's get
started,
this shit over with.
Tasha said, "Let's get this shit over with." So that's her sentiment,
Uh,
folks. There's a family member
Hold
right
on,
there.
kidding.
What's going on, brother Kenny, Mr. Sports Hustle himself? So, folks, Mr. Kenny is not able to make the Wednesday shows, for work obligations, but he is always supportive, a big part of the family, and a main reason why we do what we do because he's a pillar within the TFG family. And my show, like his, Kenny Sports Hustle, is a part of the TFG platform. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can check me out on YouTube and Facebook under Real Talk for Real Men, or you can go to TFG Ratchet and TFG and catch me there, which I'm the voice of all things Ratchet. But I hope you subscribe to all of the shows because we're a big part of the family. And Miss Carol says hello, Kenny, as well. So, okay, we'll give family members literally 2 minutes and then we'll get this thing cracking. So, in these 2 minutes, how's your week going, Tasha, as we get started? As
It's been
Kenny
a
says,
long
what's
week.
going on, CC?
Yeah, it's already been a long week. So I'm glad I'm ready for the weekend. And then the temperature's breaking. I saw the biggest spider that I've ever seen in my entire life this morning.
I find that
So
to be an exaggeration when a woman says that.
was a big ass. I used a whole can of bug spray to kill that
I'm still
spider.
imagining a basic spider, just so you know. But when a woman says, "Oh my God, that was the biggest spider ever," you're gonna have to
Yeah.
show me some proof. So that's all I'm saying. But hey, I get it. For a lot of people, spiders is a thing. So that's what's up. I get it. But while we're waiting, let's talk about let's jump into at least the title of what we're talking about
Mm.
in case you haven't followed when I posted this earlier today. We're going to be talking about settling versus compromising when it comes to a healthy relationship. Because I think sometimes that those two terms they get mixed up when somebody talks about I've settled, you know, versus what it means to make a compromise, in a healthy relationship and what that looks like, And so as we talk about this, we of course are talking about what that looks like in a healthy setting. You know, the
Mm.
truth of the matter is sometimes people do settle and we always make sacrifices. So, but we're going to talk about it from the perspective of relationships and what it looks like in a healthy setting. And of course, we'll go down those rabbit holes in terms of our own experiences. And I want to say, as always, and we hadn't said this in a long time, we don't put ourselves out there as relationship experts. Tasha and I, we never
Mm.
have, we never will. That's not how we attack these topics. I'll speak for me. I can only tell you to give you the benefit of my experiences because I've gone through some stuff. And so, if anything, I try to tell people listen to me is I can tell you some shit not to do, because I sit here in front of you, unmarried, uncoupled. So I've done some shit that was dumb, that was my fault, and I've been through some shit that was somebody else's fault. So I can only talk about what I've been through. Tasha, how do you see it?
Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely not an expert in any form of that. If I need to be your cautionary tale, then by all means, let me be that cautionary tale for you. So I can tell you, the things that I've gone through, what I've experienced, and things, my relationships and my takes from it, it's going to be my experience. You could run into the person I was with, and they may give you something totally different. This is all just my experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, look, let's jump right into it. Um, what do you think of, Tasha, when you think of the differences or what it means to settle versus making compromises in a relationship? What does that mean for you?
Compromising means that it's mutually agreed upon. Both people are going to, or both parties, or whatever, are coming to something that they both can live with, that they can both be happy about. When someone settles, it's usually somebody's getting dicked over, somebody is given a little bit more,
Mm.
or it's just, or also to me, and this is way worse, it's just like might as well kind of deal. That's, like, oh, might as well. So I don't like it. So
I agree. And Tasha and I having this conversation last night, it's a funny when you play on these words because when you use the term settle, it usually has a negative connotation. But I was saying to her last night that in many ways, I feel like, yes, I've settled as I've aged and my circumstances have changed. And I don't look at it as necessarily a negative thing. But then there certainly are some negative components. Being that it's just you and I, Tasha, and then we've got Carol watching and Kenny
mhm.
watching, and Carol and Kenny, please feel free to chime in on your definitions as well. But Tosh, we'll go. Hopefully, we'll be able to go through a lot of these fairly quickly. But I want to read some of the stuff too, and then you and I can discuss and have this conversation. And again, Carol, Kenny, please chime in. So I want to read some of this, especially since we got the time. Now I pulled this from several articles just in case. It says, in my practice, I hear people struggle to differentiate between accepting imperfections in another versus signing on for someone who might be less than they deserve. And I want to repeat that. People struggle to differentiate between accepting imperfections in another versus signing on for someone who might be less than they deserve. As I process that, I want to ask you a question, Tasha. Do you feel that you've ever, in that, from that connotation, that you've ever settled? Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like, for whatever reason, because we're gonna get into some of the reasons that people do settle, but do you feel like you've settled for something less than you deserved?
mm, I offhand, I don't think that I can say I've ever settled. I don't think that I can honestly say that. I definitely made like a lot of compromises.
Absolutely.
Definitely did that. It was, but I would never say that I just settled in the name of just to be able to say that I have a relationship, or just to be able to maintain that relationship. I know. No, I've never done that.
And that's why I was curious to see what, I didn't think you would, but again, you don't know everything about an individual and why they were in certain relationships. So when I read that, I had to really think long and hard. Have I ever been in a situation where I just settled? I was with somebody because I knew I could do better, but okay, I'm going to stay with this person. And I had to be careful in thinking about that because on the one hand, I've dated women and been with women that, it's going to sound ugly for me to say it this way, that I knew that were lower than the standard that I could get, if that makes any sense.
Wait, are we talking about just dating or are we talking about fucking? Because that's two separate
No, no,
conversations.
no, no, no. Exactly. Well, so if we go there, everybody know my track record. I view that totally separate. But I mean, like literally being with somebody for whatever
Uh,
that we have different
mm,
terms for it now, situationships, relationships. But I literally have been with people that, however you want to process it, I knew that physically or mentally or financially or whatever reasons that you say, that I knew I could do better, and I was with them for my reasons. And I didn't perceive it as this is less than I deserve. And when we
mm.
get into the reasons why I was there, I'll go a little bit deeper. So before we go there, do you feel like you've ever been in that situation that you've been with somebody? And while you're still thinking about that, I want, and for your answer, Kenny says to me, compromising comes with the positive part of a healthy relationship where both are willing to be the solution, not the problem. I love that. Settling is being with someone for right now, not the long term. And I'm glad you said that, Kenny. And Carol says, I agree, Kenny. So, Kenny, I love that definition. I love how you put that out there, man. I love it. But Tasha, have you ever been with someone that you for whatever reasons you felt like, you know what, I know I could do better?
No, I would. I honestly, I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say
I'm
that.
shocked. I really am shocked at this.
No, no, not in a relationship. I've never felt the need to be just to that I have to be in a relationship or that I have to be associated with someone. Like I've never felt like that.
Okay.
It's been like what I wanted, like what I wanted to do, what I'm willing to give. But no, I've never settled.
So when we get into reasons, we got to go down a little deeper, because again, I didn't feel like I had to be with them. I had my reasons. Hannah says that the postings are coming on. So fantastic. Let me read this other part, then we're going to move on. On the one hand, being in a healthy relationship requires surrendering to who the other person is and knowing that people can change only if they are impelled to, not at your behest. On the other hand, thriving long-term relationships require negotiation and understanding that each person cannot be fulfilled by the relationship at all times. And that is the single part I wanted to focus on, is that recognizing that even in a relationship, that each person cannot be fulfilled by the relationship at all times. Because I think that that's where sometimes the misconception can come into play as to why people might get their signals crossed when it comes to that. So let's talk about, why people settle. One of the first things that jumps out is that for a lot of people, they fear being alone. What do you think about this one, Tasha? Do you think this is really prevalent in terms of why some people do, in fact, settle?
Yeah, I do, especially nowadays. Or you hear that saying, they'd rather have a half a man than no man at all. It's settling. It is just because for whatever reason, they may not have ever been in a relationship, like, or excuse me, they've never been by themselves. They've always been in relationships, so they don't know how to be by themselves. So, yeah, I could see that as being a contributing factor.
Absolutely. And I'm going to read this. It says, loneliness is a scary prospect, and often the idea of being alone seems far worse than settling for an incompatible partner. And I love that they made the difference between the two, because in that instance, I know people who, rather than be alone, they stay in a relationship where they're clearly incompatible.
Yep.
Clearly incompatible. And sometimes you look at those people and you think, why are they together? That they living separate lives in many cases, but for them, the choice between walking this path, this thing on my own versus having someone there, I would just rather stay where I'm at. And some people get complacent and they stay in it because they fear of being alone. Carol says, I was just going to say that, Lee. Some people confuse being alone with being lonely. Tasha,
Yes.
we talk about this all the time. What do you say to that, McMac?
It's way two different things, way two different things. I can honestly say I've never felt alone. I like being by myself. I enjoy being my own company. I've never felt loneliness because I guess you take that time, you get comfortable just like with knowing yourself or doing things a certain way or being able, to me it's a positive. You're able to do exactly what you want to do when you want to do it, and there's really no one there to question you. There isn't. So
The other only thing I'll add to that is there's not for me. I agree 1,000%. And for me on this subject, that's why I can't settle because I'm not going to trade in that security, that sense of individuality, of freedom, dare I say it, just to be with somebody. I know it could probably be easier, whatever, but to your point, Tasha, I'm never that lonely. I have moments where I want somebody here for whatever reason. Sometimes it's just the fuck. you know, I even have moments where, man, it would be nice to have somebody to go somewhere with this weekend or whatnot. Never though at the expense of giving up all that I get from being by myself because I am very content. Kenny says, I ain't gonna lie, I have especially these last few years. So I get that, my brother, and I love that. You're vulnerable and open to share that. You know, and I can appreciate that. And a lot of men wouldn't even say that. And again, I guess Kenny, I've been on my own so long. For a long time, I thought something was wrong with me that I needed to be with somebody until I ultimately truly accepted I enjoy being alone, even to the point where I've grown now that we ain't gonna go down this rabbit hole, but even with somebody, I still want to be alone. And that's the horrible part, the selfishness in me that I still want to be alone. You
can
know,
I
sure,
can I have
please.
some
Yeah, we got time.
for me, the why I crave the feeling of being alone now, it's a combination of, like I growing up in a house like with siblings. So, you could have like a family, that family unit kind of deal.
Right.
But then also for me, it's the jobs that I worked. They took a lot of out of me being
Mm.
in retail, customer service, customer facing positions for years. That's a lot that I'm peopled out.
Wow. Folks, Tasha and I talk about this all the time, how much we enjoy working from home because we did spend a great chunk of our life having to deal with people. And I got to tell you, it takes a toll on you.
It does.
In the same way, people who do a physical job where it takes a toll on their body, to Tasha's point, emotionally, mentally, it takes a toll when your job every day is to deal with people. My brother, Gene, he's been a physical laborer for the bulk of his life. He's always done physical jobs. We had to get up, for the break of dawn and go, whether he was a chef or working school system, doing janitorial stuff, or working in the school system, working with kids doing lunches or whatever. And so by the time he made it to the age of retirement, he was physically worn out, you
Mhm.
know. And so to Tasha's point, when you spent 25 years in retail management, close to 10 years in higher education, and in between those years, working in service industries, where you do title loan companies and shit like that, where every day you're dealing with people and all that comes with that, it takes its toll.
Yep.
Carol says, Tasha, I worked in customer service and it can be mentally draining. It is
Mhm.
it is absolutely, there is no doubt about that. Let's talk about timing. Why sometimes people settle. Timing is everything. Now I want to read this. Although there are many different ways to understand why people settle due to timing, it's summed up simply and brilliantly by everyone's favorite relationship expert in Sex in the City. In this show, Miranda coined the cab light theory. This concept suggests that men are like taxis. When the time comes for them to settle down, they turn their available light on, and the first woman to climb in is the chosen one. How true do you think that is, Tasha?
That's true. That's true.
And you think when it comes to settling, you think that's true?
It is true. And we've briefly touched on this like on the show briefly. When men are faced with immortality and they're aging, they
Ooh.
don't want to do about themselves, and
Oh.
they want someone who's gonna be there with them. Tell me I'm lying, Black.
No,
Tell
you're
me I'm
not lying, but I want to speak on that. But you are absolutely not lying. And I want Kenny to chime in on this if while he's still got time. Carol says, I worked at health insurance, and that is a bear. Kenny says it's tough when you see a lot of people you know coupled up doing things together and you are left out. You are left out, Larry. LOL. Kenny, I honestly don't feel that way, but I get you, my brother. And then Carol says, very true. She's saying what you saying, Tasha, about men. Oh man, the comments are coming. Kenny says, I know for me, having someone to lean on emotionally these last few years after the losses I've taken would have been good for me emotionally. See, I get that. I get that in your case because you were dealing with, like you said, a lot of emotional losses. So, knock on wood, thank God that I've been fortunate that that wasn't. Maybe I would feel the same, but I didn't. I haven't gone through any real big emotional, not back to back like you did. Carol says, and some men, when they're ready to settle down, they're broke down.
Mm. What do you mean, Carol? Like
Okay,
physically or
hold on,
emotionally or
cause
financially?
Because I
Which one?
got Carol, because Carol and Tasha, what you said is true. What you said is absolutely true. But I want to ask you guys: is it also is there's some semblance of truth to that when it comes to women too? Because how many women in their young heyday, Carol, Tasha, that when you sexy, young, and thin, and get that, you out there cracking that pussy open to whoever want a piece of it. But what gets me sometimes is now that you got 2, 3, 4 kids, and that dream is deferred because you didn't live up to where you thought you was going. Now that woman too, I'm looking for a good man. They're looking for the knight in shining armor, and the first guy that comes along that's willing to tolerate their situation. Is that not settling, ladies? Carol
Oh, yeah,
says it goes both ways.
it does. Oh yeah, it's definitely settling. It does.
That's that's the only thing. So I want to announce that. But you're not wrong, Tasha. And even as I've aged and I deal with health issues, I won't lie that that's a real fear. That is a real
Mhm.
fear. That is one of the cons I would say of living alone is that you are alone to deal with potential illness. I won't lie and say that that's not always in the back of my mind. It even comes up in simple times when you just don't feel like going to work or you feel sick. You know, it manifests itself in those small ways. But damn, I wish I had somebody that could make me some soup and I didn't have to get up and clean up, or I didn't have to get up physically and go out to the store. If I just had somebody that was, rubbing my stomach and my head and shit like that. Tasha's a woman. Do you feel that? You don't get sick very often, but do you have those moments? And Carol, I know you're married, but do you feel that, Tasha?
What? That I'd rather somebody come do some shit for me? Hell yeah, all the fucking time. Like, please. Please and thank you. But then at the same time, I know me, I'm gonna be like, no, never mind, I'll do it myself because you ain't gonna do it the way I wanted to anyway. That's other issues though. We're not here to
I
talk
got.
about
I
those
I
issues.
agree. I agree.
But
I agree.
I did want to add something else to this timing thing because I don't know if you've seen any of the videos or not, but there is an increase of people posting videos of their experiences, well, lack of experiences in relationships. Like these are people who are women, men in their 20s, 30s, some of them in their 40s who've never been in a romantic relationship, that never had boyfriends, they never had girlfriends, they've never had sex, a lot of them.
Whoa.
And I
Whoa.
think that this right here, timing, I think a lot of them end up settling because lack of experience or just so desperate because some of their videos are just so fucking sad.
Wow.
I'm like how, like how? And they talk about never having experienced romantic love from anybody.
Whoa, whoa.
So I think that that kind of goes along with the whole timing thing.
I
So
agree, and I hadn't considered that, but that's gotta be big for some people. If you've never truly been in love, you know what I'm saying? Never
yeah,
truly been sexually that's a whole nother aspect of it. Carol said, "That's me, Tasha. I want it, but then again, I don't want it." Shaking my head.
exactly,
I'm
exactly.
I don't think I'm a bad person to be around sick. I don't think so, but anyway, Kenny says, "Geez, Tasha, that's sad." Carol says, and they're always reminding people that the clock is ticking and that they don't have too much time.
Yes, like I get it. I understand looking at people and wanting it. Like a lot of even a lot of the women talk about never, like wanting kids and having a family. Damn it, you don't need a warm body to do it. You can go down. Matter of fact, if you wanted to, it ain't even got to be memorable. You can go and you can get you some dick. Okay, I can tell you how. You can get you some dick. It ain't hard,
That's
and you
true.
can get you a baby. So
That's
it's not
true.
hard.
On the flip side of that, I've run across when I used to work in offices, of course, physical office, where people think that when they find out that you're single, because initially they think, I'm the married guy. And then they find out, wait a minute, he's single. They think you ought to rush to be with somebody because they view it as it's sad that he's going home alone or whatever. And then I shock them. I used to tell them all the time, the best part of my entire day used to always be when I used to turn the key in my door going back home. That was the best part of my entire day because, and it's still that way, even working from home. I can't wait to get back to my bedroom because that's where my best time is. Tasha is a couch person in a living
Hmm.
room. For me, the best part of my day, when this show ends, the best part of my entire day, Tasha and Sherry and people who know me best know me, that it's going to end in bed with everything around me that I want, my food, my snacks, my liquor, my remote in my hand. That's the best part of my day. That's the best part of my day. So yeah, and timing for me is just not worth it. Let's talk about
Hmm.
self-worth. The feeling that you can't do better than your current partner is a common issue when it comes to settling in relationships. The easiest way to understand why people settle comes back to low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a large, even daunting concept that takes a lot of work and healing to strengthen. You might say to yourself, this is as good as it gets for me. Wow. Wow.
I say that about my job. Is that bad?
Oh, you know?
I say that shit about my job. I hate that fucking job.
And the irony is, I don't think that about my job because on the flip side of that, for me, Tasha, this is the crazy part. And since you brought that up, I feel like if I put forth the effort, I could get a different job and even more money. The irony, on the flip side of it, for me, I almost feel like, that's Sherry buzzing in, not real. She always call her on the show, not realizing for me that right now, I think sometimes I stay on jobs too long because I get comfortable, even though I know that I should be making more, whatever. But when I settle into and find my groove, I think I stay. So let me translate that to relationships. I've never had an issue with my self worth ever. And
Yeah.
that goes back to my initial example that I gave in the very beginning. I've been with people and had nothing to do with my self worth.
Yeah.
Nothing. I never one time thought this is as good as it gets. I've been with some ugly bitches. I have. And I'm talking about just sex. I'm talking about I've had women that I knew was not up to the standard of attractiveness that I could get. And this was during a time when I was the shit. I knew I could get better women. I was it. You know what I'm saying? But it was never about my self worth. I never one time thought, well, this is the best I could get. if any, this is gonna sound fucked up to say, but if anything, I almost found it charitable that I was with this person for a different reason. Tasha, why your face looking like that? But I almost felt like, I'm doing her a favor, like she get the fuck with me. So my
So
self-worth never was an
so
issue for me.
so you was like Gandhi a dick or something, just out there just blessing everybody. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just look.
Bless.
Okay. If you want me to be brutally honest, at that moment, I felt that level of arrogance that, yeah, she's getting way more from this than I am, and I'm blessing her with some of this good D.
That's another show because that's on the way opposite side of the
I'm
spectrum.
just saying,
You fucking narcissist.
I went through that period where I was that dude that now you
No.
talking about a time when my stamina was, I was Superman. I was literally Superman. You talking 6-hour marathon fuck sessions,
Bless.
not even being able to come, standing there with my hands on my
You're
waist.
you're you're not gonna sit up here and act like you were Santa Claus and just blessing everybody. That's not what we do. I I will say this along the lines for this one. I think self-worth and the first one, fear of being alone. I think those two kind of play hand in
Absolutely.
hand because it's,
Absolutely.
if they feel like that this is as good as it gets for them, whether it be this is something that maybe it ties back to their childhood,
Okay. Okay.
of things that they were told, growing up that this is all you'll ever be good for. This is all that you could ever do.
But I do have a question. This one's going to be a very personal one for me and you, Tasha. And you
Okay.
can choose not to answer if you don't want to, but you just made me think about something. But Carol says, I have always felt that I was the best out there, LOL. But if I don't think that way, who else will? LOL. I love that. It's
Okay.
nothing sexier than confidence. But Carol, you led me right to the question where I want to go. And since it's just Tasha and I, when it comes to self-worth,
Mhm.
though, and you said sometimes you felt the way about your job, answer however you choose, or you can say, I don't want to answer. Has there been anyone, though, for you personally? Because I'm going to answer this for me personally, that there was a time where you didn't feel qualified in whatever way that is for that person, for whatever the reason. Have you ever felt that? Ponder that, because I want to go first on this one so that you
Okay.
get a real feel for where I'm going with this. But Kenny says, oh, I damn sure say that about my current job situation.
I'm telling you, fuck these jobs. I'm telling you,
My brother,
start a
I
revolution.
understand. He says, as far as my self-worth, nah, I've never questioned that except when I get DMs from women that favor Flav. Jeez. So I know about that all too well. Me and Kenny talked about that. Facebook dating app, like I start thinking, wait a minute, I know I'm fat and shit, but I damn sure could do better than these fat bitches that's heating me up. So again, and she laughing at Kenny. So Kenny and I feel, and what's crazy is we compared notes one night because I'm thinking, well, maybe it's just me getting like, damn, I know I ain't as sexy as I used to be, but I don't think I'm ugly, and I'm getting these like real monster bitches. And then Kenny showed me one of the bitches that was hunting for him, and I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better at least that it ain't just me, So okay, but I want to talk about this self. Here's one of my truths. When I first moved here to Atlanta, I was still carrying a torch for someone that I was absolutely in love with, but I didn't feel my circumstances was adequate enough. This is to approach it. And I even had people say, well, if you love this person, why don't you reach out to them? But when I first moved to Atlanta, I left Memphis. Long story short, was because I didn't have a job. My job situation, I had a master's degree and all this shitload of experience and couldn't find a job to pay me what I was worth because I damn sure didn't go to school to get a master's degree and to be $100,000 in student loan debt for somebody to pay me $30,000, $40,000 a year. That's not what I went to school for. And so this person I was in love with, by all accounts, she had her shit together, and I didn't feel adequate to be in her space at that time. So, in that sense, my self-worth was at its lowest. And have you gone through anything like that, Kenny, Carol? But I'm asking you specifically, Tasha.
No, because for me, it's it can sound arrogant. It's okay. It can sound arrogant. For
That's why I
me,
want to hear this.
I've never that burden has never been on me as a woman. Like I feel like
Wow.
it's and it's an honor for you to enjoy to be in my presence. It's an
Wow.
honor.
I'm not mad at you. I like that. And it goes hand in hand with what Carol said. So, Kenny, please help me out here. Is because maybe women feel that way that I think they probably have to, that they're the prize. And that's I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. You know, Carol says facts. So am I the only guy? Bert's not on here, Kenny's not on here. Kenny, if you're still watching, have you ever felt inadequate? Maybe that's a better word, to be with someone for your circumstances at the time. I don't mean an overall, like I'm not worthy. Like I still know I was me, but I didn't feel like I could step to her without my shit together because she only knew me and fell in love with me when I had my shit together. Go ahead, Tasha.
Let me just say this because I have had that told to me by other men and one specifically. But for me, I always kind of felt like that's just a fucking excuse. Like
Ooh.
if that person, like if you love that person or you feel that way about that person or you want to be with that person,
Mhm.
then you should make that gesture, make that, heart and bring yourself heart in hand and just see it's up to that person to accept it or to reject it.
I was told that by multiple people, but I can only tell you how I feel. Kenny says, I can relate to that as well, Black. It's someone from my past to this day. I wouldn't shoot my shot because of my current financial situation. That's why I really don't put myself out there. So I understand him completely because that's how I felt, Tasha. I hear
That could
what
be
you're
the
saying.
missing piece, though.
Huh? Say what?
To Kenny, that could be the missing piece. She could be
I
that
know what you're saying.
encouragement. She could be that person, that missing piece that you get with, or you tell her that, and then you realize that everything else just becomes clear.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm only letting you into my psyche that that's where I was at. That's literally where I was at. I was in love with the person, but at that time, like I didn't know how to, and I just might call it pride or whatever you want to call it. I just didn't feel like I could step to her because of my financial situation. At that time, I was homeless,
Hmm.
and I'm moving to Atlanta. I'm staying with my sister-in-law. So I felt like, okay, before I could get back to this place where I could step to her or anybody on her level, I felt like in that moment, oh, you got to get your shit together first. And maybe that's a male thing. What's going on, Sister Hannah?
Hey, I can't hear. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Carol says,
mhm.
my dad always told me I was a queen and make men treat me as such. And I love any father that passes that message on to a daughter because that's your job, to instill in your daughter that you are the prize, you are a queen, So I love that. And then Kenny he just reiterated dating wise. Carol says, I'm a spoiled daddy's girl. That I love it. I love it. Tasha, I met your dad. It makes all the sense in the world knowing a little bit of I met your mom and your dad for those who don't know. So it makes all the sense in the world because to have some point of reference to know where Tasha gets her level of work ethic, pride, arrogance, all of that shit,
Correct.
So I get it. I get it. What's going on, Sister Hannah?
Hey, y'all. Sorry, my allergy kicking my butt.
No worries, sweetheart. Glad to have you here. Bless you. Kenny says, I hear you, Tasha, and I get that, but I just don't know. I think it's a man thing. Women now want you to be built, not a project. Ooh, Kenny, I love that. I love
So
that.
okay, so let me say this as a one, and Carol and Hannah can jump in there. But for me, when I hear a man tell me that they feel like that they can't approach me, or they don't feel worthy enough to be in the relationship with me at that time because they're not where they want to be, I see it as an excuse. Like, you just don't really want to be with me. I
I
think it's an excuse,
I get
because
it.
that's saying, like, if he wanted to, he would.
Right. Here's the funny part about it, and Ken could vouch. You would never hear that. I'm never going to tell you that. And so if anything, I might lose out. That's I genuinely feel like, since we're going down this rabbit hole, and Carol agrees with you, Tasha. She says, yes, I do too. But Carol, Tasha, Hannah, a man like me and Kenny, we're never going to say that to you. And that's to our detriment, probably. I honestly feel like, and I think I've shared this with you, Tasha, before. I I question sometimes, did I let some good ones get away?
Hmm.
Because of that, I'm never going to say that to. She never knew that, and that's the thing. I
What if she
never.
asked you though? What if these
She
women were to come to you and to ask you, why aren't we together? What's going on? Why can't we
okay,
be together?
okay. Now, if she had asked me that, full disclosure, you know what, I would have been truly surprised. Not even surprised. I would have been flattered. But you know what, would I have done it? If it depends on what if she saying, hey, I want to be with you, like, what's stopping us from being together? My answer still at that time would have been, you know what, I don't really have my shit together. But now if she said, hey, I got you, I got you. You had me when I was down. I would have went with it. I'm telling you right here, not live on air. I may have missed that boat because I didn't step out there, but I just couldn't do it. And this is why Kenny's saying the same thing. I hear you, Tasha, but I respectfully disagree. This
Do it.
is a man thing, and I'm sorry,
YOLO.
I
Do it.
know it. All I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but it's not that easy. And you hold yourself to a certain standard that
Hmm.
you want to be with somebody, and you see yourself through. This is the other part. You see yourself through their eyes. You think, but that's the fucked up part about it, that they could be seeing you completely different.
They-
But I'm measuring myself in her eyes from what she knew when I was on top. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Um,
Come on, Hannes, jump in
I'll
there if
say,
you want.
I'll say, if you feel as though you're not on that person's level, I feel like confidence is always the key. Do not say it, but you can also, honesty sometimes can get you farther, because if you're putting initiative to work yourself up to that level, then that's seen. But just coming out saying, "Oh, I'm not this, I'm not that," no woman wants to hear you're what you're not. If you
Right.
show initiative, or you want to get to that level and you're doing what you can to get there, then you could be worked with. But if you just coming out and keep being doubting, if you don't have confidence in yourself, then why would I have confidence in you being my man?
I'm
Like,
loving it. And I don't, and here's the crazy part, Hannah and Tasha and Carol. I don't think for one moment she saw me that way.
mm,
I don't think for one moment she saw me that way. She called me constantly. I don't think she saw me that way. That's how I saw myself. And again, I have my own standard. Carol says fear is a mother. Sometimes you have to face your fear.
Yeah.
Carol, for a man, a proud man, that's a different fear that is easier said than done. Carol says it's not like some women don't feel the same. I still think it's different because I think the onus, at least I'm an old school, older male. I think I still go into relationship as a Neanderthal, Carol and y'all, that I still feel like I still need to be taking the lead. I didn't say make more money than her. I recognize that in today's workplace environment, it's entire. Not only is it possible, it's probably likely that if I meet a woman that I want to be with, she's probably going to make more money than me and probably have her own house. I live in an apartment. So it's not that, but it's an inner thing for me that I still need to feel like I match up and I can hold my own in that room. It's like getting my master's degree. I never beat people over the head with my education, but there is an inner confidence of knowing I can stand in any room with anybody and hold my own. And I just want to feel that same thing if I'm standing next to. So when I was going out, what's going on, Brother Bird? And I'm sitting in a sports bar, and the chick, I remember one time I was kicking it with this chick who had a white BMW, badass crib and everything. And I'm living in an apartment in fucking Riverdale at the time. It was a decent apartment because there wasn't no rat trap, but she had this badass house. But you know, the crazy part about it was I was still making good money. You know, I felt like I don't give a fuck if she drive a BMW. And at that time, what was I driving? I had my Cadillac. I had my old Cadillac, I believe. But my thing was, you know, I still felt on her level in every way. And then when I first moved here, I'm only talking about when I first moved here, I was in my lowest state financially, materially. Like I just didn't feel like I measured up. Let me read a couple of comments. Kenny says, Tasha, if a woman would ask me, I would tell her, and it has nothing to do with the woman.
We won't believe you.
Kenny says, I'm with you, Black. That's my brother. That's what I'm talking about. Evening be wet. Carol said, that's pride talking. When I met my husband, I was unemployed, but I knew I was capable of holding my own and getting back. Carol, it's still different. It's still different. We're going to move on, but I hear everything y'all saying. It's still different. It's probably even chauvinistic of me to say it. And Bert, you on the show. I want to hear your take on this. We're talking about sometimes reasons why we settle. And one of the reasons was about, specifically about self-worth. And I was like, I don't have low self-esteem or anything like that. But there was this one moment where when I first moved to Atlanta, I didn't feel like I was adequate to approach this woman I was in love with. This was an old girlfriend of mine, to get back together because I didn't have my shit together in that moment. And the women are saying, as you hear all the comments, that it's your pride, this, that, and the other. And Carol was like, she was unemployed. You as a man, as a husband, I want to ask a simple question. Is there a difference between your wife being unemployed and carrying a weight and you being unemployed and carrying a weight? How you feel as a man?
There's a difference. And a lot of it is how the way we were raised in the social. Men throughout time all over the world, we're known as the ones that are the breadwinners. We're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. If a woman, it's like this. You can have a woman that makes a ton of money. She's not going to pull a guy from McDonald's or nothing like that. A guy can make a lot of money. He could pull a woman that don't even make nowhere near what he make, and know that, she'll, through time or whatever, he'll take her as she is. You know what I'm saying? What a man is,
I agree.
Different. It's different.
I agree.
I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying
Thank you. It's not logical.
Yeah, it's just the way society looks at you. As a man, that's how the way you're raised up. A man's supposed to handle this. You look at your grandfather, you look at your father, you look at uncles and whoever else. They're supposed to handle their business. Yeah, y'all right. It comes to a point where it's pride. But at the end of the day, that's how the way it's viewed as far as a man. How many times have we heard it where a man don't have as much as a woman? Oh, he this, he that, he a bum or whatever the case might be. He need to get himself together or something like that.
That's all I'm saying. It's not logical. We're going to move on. Why don't we get a couple of comments in here real quick? Carol says, if I had walked away, I would have forfeited the prize. I agree. So I'm glad you hung in there. Mm-hmm. And I might have missed my boat with the young lady. Kenny says, I hear you, CC, but you're a woman. Men don't care if a woman is unemployed if he digs her. And that is...
man. Because I'm tired of working. I'm tired of working.
Carol says some men do. Kenny's
I'm about to say,
right.
some men do care.
Some men care, but okay, so it might be. I'm speaking for my
These young men
generation.
want you working.
For my generation, again, if I found a woman right now, she didn't quite have her shit together. Look, there's some things that's that's deal breakers, but her not working again, if the potential is there, I could deal with that. Oh, Marlon has chimed in. Marlon said it's different between men and women. A man was raised to be providers, and I agree. We're not saying it's logical,
Right.
ladies, but it is what it is. Kenny said, "Yeah, I hear you, CC, but most men don't. I met my ex-wife, peace be on her, and she was unemployed when I met her. In the end, my ex-wife ended up making more than me. Kenny, my wife moved from my mama's house to my house. Literally, she was sharing a room with a brother, and then all of a sudden, she was a wife in a 3-bedroom house.
Mm.
And I took that bitch from nothing to something."
You know what? Not even
Moving right along.
Like,
Now
come
you're
on.
just doing too
You
much.
No,
already
I'm
back
just
in the
joking. I'm just joking. I had a really good wife. But here's another reason why people sometimes settle, is a fear of commitment. A fear of commitment. Worrying about settling may really be a fear of commitment in disguise. Am I with the right person? Is a question most of us have asked ourselves at one point in a relationship. When we're worrying about the other's suitability, we aren't spending time with our own fears about making a big choice and living with it. What do you guys think about this? That for some people, they settle because, ironically, the flip side of it is they're settling because they fear committing. How true is this and accurate is this? Have you experienced this?
So they're in a relationship, but they don't want commitment.
Right. I know that seems like an oxymoron.
No, I get it. It's like when people be like, when you see these posts on TikTok, which sometimes makes no sense. Like, we bought a house, we bought a car, but we don't need to get married because he don't want to get married. Like, you did everything else together, but you just, that last part of a ring on your finger is like, oh my goodness, I'm anchored down. I don't want this. But you did everything else under the sun together. But that one part of being married is like the end all be all. You refuse to do it. So I guess in a situation like that, that can make sense. Or some people, if they find that one person, they like, well, you rock with me and I rock with you. I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to see if there's nothing else because you get me for this little bit, and I'm not gonna see if somebody else can find more of me.
I want to share. Go ahead, Tasha.
Okay. I was gonna say, I think of those long-term relationships that you see. Like Hannah was just saying, like you see people who've been together for 10 years, 15 years. They're too afraid of getting married because they don't want it to, I don't want the relationship to change. I don't want her, we got a good thing going. We don't need to change anything right now. But then also they're holding on to it in the event that they're finding something better that better suits them in that time of their life. And it's often, it has nothing to do with even them personally. It's all about appearances, like on social media, and how that person fits into your life. It's the aesthetic of it.
I know 2 couples right now.
Call them out. I'm kidding.
No, Tasha, you know we will. Don't do
Man, we would have to end this show so quick.
Because when I speak on them, Tasha's going to know who I'm talking about too. But and I got 2 couples, but I'm going to call the situation out. But Marlon says, but do people settle or do they end up with an equal? If you're a 6 going for a 10, but end up with a 7, is it considered settling?
Okay, that's where I wanted to go. Is the settling, is it somebody losing, like are they gonna be happy with it? Is it going to compromise your happiness?
That's the question, Marlon.
To affect it? That's the question. So yeah, they could.
So Marlon,
they could settle with someone who doesn't look that good. Yeah, right. But happiness.
And so Marlon, that's where the topic of the show is settling versus compromise and being able to differentiate between the two, because that, my friend, could be a compromise. We often see a couple walking together and we think, how the fuck he get her? You know what I'm saying? You know, well, I usually see it that way around. You know, again, you
That's
know,
not funny.
I look at TV all the time, and you know, big back Lisa T says she got motherfuckers chasing her, and I can't even get nobody. But you always look and say, well, damn, how somebody chase this person? But my thing is that it's settling to me, Marlon, when you're giving up to your happiness. You know, so we're gonna go into that even deeper. But I want to forget my point about fear of commitment. I know a couple right now, and they put a parameter on their dating situation and gave a time limit to it. But the truth of the matter is, they're riding out their current situation rather than make a full-blown commitment to each other. Because I truly believe in my heart, the fear is that if they push the envelope, okay, time is up. I said I was only going to do this to a certain point, and that time is up, that person might leave. And what are you left with?
That's very
I
true.
know another couple that, and I know 4 of them like this, but this one hits close to home to where I ain't gonna marry her. Shit, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? And marriage, it's just a piece of paper. And so I don't want to fuck up what we got. So, I know that as long as that's my old lady, but I ain't gonna be her husband because that's different.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as we can keep riding this, and she's going to be content with me not making her the one, putting a ring on it, we could ride till the wheels fall off. But I'm not gonna commit to you, bitch, because you ain't gonna wear my name.
Hey. Very true.
You're gonna get so many text messages.
I'm
I
just
feel
saying.
so
I'm just saying
He ain't say no name.
that shit is real. That for some people
Tasha,
they
he ain't
settle, believe it or not, because they actually fear making that ultimate level of commitment because some people don't like to end it. You know, Carol says, "Oh wow, I heard that all my life. I think it's been planted in men's heads."
Yeah.
You know, but
Yep.
Carol, under this new iteration of relationships, I think it happens now a lot, even with women too. That you know what, this to Kenny's point, as long as he is providing me with getting my hair done, my nails done, and bringing that loot in, I will fuck with him. But I'll never match. He's not my end to be all. He's not my knight in shining armor. I'll stay with him, and I'll fuck with him right now because he's bringing in this. And as long as he's producing on that level on a regular basis, you know, and by the way, one of the couples I'm thinking of right now, that's a big part of it too. Long as he has 2 jobs, and long as you keep taking this person on the vacations in the world, I'm with you. But the moment that stops, where does that leave us?
That's why that this right here, the Nick Cannon comes to mind, Future comes to mind. As long as they're providing a lifestyle, I don't mind giving them a baby. I don't mind doing that.
Ooh, ooh.
Mm-hmm. That's income. But I'm gonna say this: people say, "Oh, it's just a piece of paper." My mom had a friend. She was her boyfriend and her together 42 years. He had a great job, retired. He had 1 child. He died.
Mm-hmm.
She was not allowed to collect his pension. She had to go back to work in her old age because all those years you were with this person, you could not collect his pension because they were not married.
Sweetie, I'm gonna take this lesson close to home. This is called real talk. My
Don't talk
mama.
about her. I knew. Don't talk about her. Don't talk about.
Don't
your
go
mama.
there. Don't go there.
Don't talk about your mama.
Don't go there. Okay. Carol says, quiet is kept. I can and will do all those things that need to be done so your money ain't all I'm looking for. I love it. I love it. But how many of those out there? I'll say this then. Sasha say don't go there. That hits so close to home and is very sad because again, this is in my own family, where they were together and they settled for out of fear of commitment. Look, I'm gonna go on and say it, fuck it. Mr. Jimmy was with my mama, and they were together for the better part of 40 years.
Mm.
He had a wife over in Jamaica. And oh shit, I saw my lights blink. Don't start this internet
That's
shit
your
again.
mom. She said, "Shut your mouth."
So if the Lord is coming from, so I've spoken tongues now, so don't come get me. But
You play entirely too much. All right. When your lights flicker and go out and then it comes back on and we looking at somebody over your shoulder, don't do that.
so I gotta get my blessing. Okay, so let's just be speaking in
You gotta
tongues.
chill. You gotta chill.
That's him, God. That ain't even me. That ain't me this time.
If you see a big thing of fire sitting on my head, that means God is blessing me.
I rebuke that energy. I rebuke that energy.
Okay. But back to my story. My thing was, he lived with my mom, lived with her, off her, this, that, made his money. By the time they split, he was damn near a millionaire. And his wife came over from the islands. Man, and they lived good as a mother sucker. My mother, she don't give a damn thing, no bueno. So that shit is real. I'm just saying. But a lot of people, on a serious note, they do. They settle, and it's masked because they actually are not going to commit. So it's some sad shit to see that. To your point, Tasha, I got another family member that no benefits. She's put them to 40 years into somebody, no wifely benefits, no social security, no death benefits, no nothing. And that's some sad shit that's on a serious note. So that idea that it's just a piece of paper.
That paper means a lot. I'll say
it does.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Because
absolutely.
I told Bert that I wanted to be married by a certain time. Did I not?
But that's not what played into.
No, I'm saying don't be afraid to ask what you want, because sometimes you be scared and you if you don't.
Hunter, the asking is the easy part.
Yeah, but if he didn't, then I probably wouldn't.
No, I'm giving you credit, because the asking it, this person they asked for.
That's hard.
They asked for it.
It's not easy.
Well, I'll disagree. Somebody might say right now, look, I'll be with this, that bitch. Come on, I'm gonna take you all the way up to that line.
No,
the asking is the easy part. Jerry Seinfeld says
that is not
anybody can rent a car. I can call Enterprise right now. He said the important part is not renting the car, it's the holding the car. So asking for what you want, that's important.
But Lee, if it was easy, then why are people scared to ask?
Some are. I agree with y'all. I'm not saying it. Well, to me, like I said, women ask for, men for that matter too. People ask for what they want, but they don't work in harmony with that ask. They don't work in harmony with that ask, in my opinion. And that's men and women. I got male friends that they want a wife that stay home at night. They want a wife that cooks. They want a wife that cleans. But do you hold her accountable for it? I know motherfuckers right now, that's what they want. They will sit there.
You said what?
I'm just keeping it real. And so it's called real talk. You can ask for it and say, well, this is what I want.
I can't hear you. He said, can you repeat it?
I know. I got friends right now who they want a wife that cooks, that stays home, cleans the house, does the laundry, does the wifely duties, but they don't hold the person accountable. So they settle for what they get what they get. So when I said to you, asking for it is easy. It ain't only women. I know men who ask for it. Well, baby, why don't you cook sometime? Well, damn, every time I come home, I have to be the one cleaning up. Well, why don't we stay in sometime? Asking for it's pretty damn easy. What you gonna do about it when that person don't live up to it?
Nothing.
Therein lies the
That's the
problem.
problem.
And so, for a
No,
lot of people, asking that hard question, there might be a fear that what if he or she says no and I'm done and now you can go your way? Because that's the fear sometimes. You know what? If you feel that way, motherfucker, you can walk.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with women. What if that woman who wants to be the one, wants to have that, wear that name, but look, I done told you we ain't doing that. So, shit, if you need all that, then, shit, you just gonna have to do what you're gonna have to do. So rather than hold that man's feet to the fire and hold him accountable, they just ride along with the status quo. And sometimes that's the real shit. Carol says, I had been with my husband 5 years and told him I would not live with him forever. So are you interested in marriage or just being friends? And obviously, you had what it took to where that man knew that you were serious, and boom, he had to put up or shut up. I could have got my wife to sleep with me, I would have done it. I wouldn't have married her. I wanted to fuck. I had her spending the night with me on the Q-tip. The organization didn't know about it. And we did all the touching and feeling. She let me get all the way up to that door. She just wouldn't let me look behind the curtain. Shit, I was grab some titties, squeeze some ass. I kissed the damn near everywhere on the bottom of her feet, but she just would not let me pull the musty drawers off. My thing was, she had a standard that no, this is as far as you can go, and that for me, I'm gonna have to be a wife before we cross that line. So I had a choice to make, and over time, it came down to, is this person worth it? And the truth of the matter was, I realized and woke up one day like, oh shit, I don't want to be without this person. God damn it, I think I love this bitch. And hence, I had to march my monkey ass down the aisle.
That's what I'm talking about, Black. Like, she put something out there, right? But it was ultimately in your hands.
Absolutely.
If that's what you want, if that's what you wanted. And then you realize, like, all right, you know what? That's somebody I want in my life.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure you didn't feel pressure. You had your reasonings why.
Yes.
But what I would tell anybody is don't feel pressured. I mean, if that's not what you want to do, then don't do it. You know,
absolutely.
If you don't want to do it, don't do it, because all you're doing is you wasting time. If you selling or you waiting for this unicorn to come by, tall, dark, and handsome, or whatever, this dime piece and all this other stuff, you're looking for unicorns. But I mean, if that's what you into, then so be it. But anybody can lay anything down and say, hey, listen, I'm 5 years, that's it, or this, that, and the third. But it's still up to the other person whether or not
5 years
to figure out whether or not is this the person for me or not. That's what you got to figure out.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what they say, you got to do check. I always call it checks and balances. Do they check? Do they check the box? If they check off the boxes, then that's when you start counting. Hey, listen, this might be the one.
And that's it. I know Tasha said that was real romantic, and that was about how it was at the time. I was a 21-year-old man. I didn't know nothing about no romance. I proposed to her while we was watching Arsenio Hall. She was laying there, and I was laying there. I leaned over and I said, "So you want to get married?" She said, "Sure." And that was it. That was the romance right there.
Ooh, you would get drugged on social media for that. These days, you would get talked about so bad on social media.
That was a proposal.
No, absolutely authentic.
Wasn't no get down on my knees, but now I love that woman. No, I didn't get,
He said he rolled over and just said, "Hey,
yeah, no, that was the
you
proposal."
Oh, you should not on the knee.
No, that was the proposal. We were watching Arsenio Hall, and just in that moment, I said, "Well, you want to get married?" I said it nice. I had a sweet tone to it, but she said, "Yeah, sure."
What?
And then we were engaged.
Okay.
There was, but I was young, she was young, so but again, I loved her. And to honor her, I'll say this for friends of hers that may watch me and come across me on social media. I've never remarried because she, even in my dreams, some 20 something years later, whenever I dream that I have a wife, she's the only face I see.
Oh, that
That's
was
the
actually sweet.
that's the only
See, they
that's
need
the
to go
only
ahead and just
person
work it out.
that
Right?
measured up to
That's
that.
very
She was
sweet.
the only person that measured up to the status of a wife for me. I came close, but that was the person that even when I have current dreams where I'm married, that's the face I see. And I never made the ultimate commitment to another woman because the nasty bitches didn't live up to it. Some of you came close, but you just didn't make it. But
Oh,
anyway,
so
He
she
ain't
has
gonna
a
get
little.
married.
She has a little opening right in between the. Okay.
she had a standard. She
Uh-huh.
had morals. She had all the characteristics that I saw that I wanted in a wife. She grew into it because she didn't have them immediately, but she grew into it, and she was a great wife. We just were too young to know what we were doing, but she was a great wife. And sadly, somewhere she's probably making somebody else happy. But I trained that pussy, just so you know. But
Wait a minute, wait
See,
a
you
minute, wait
just
a minute,
had to
because
take it. It was so
wait,
sweet.
oh no, because now we have to go down this rabbit hole. So if fate ever had your paths cross again, fate would have it, and you got another chance, right?
okay,
Another chance to be together
okay,
and to get married to the same person,
right,
would you do?
absolutely not,
What the
Oh,
fuck?
I
absolutely,
a whole totally different.
absolutely, absolutely not. And so,
I did not
so
expect that. I expected yes.
Me
absolutely not.
too.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
and I can even and I can
You
even say
said
that
all
about
that.
absolutely not. There's no hesitation. It would never it could measure up to anything close. And here's the reason why: because I'm a completely different person now than I was then. I married at that time purely for love, purely for love. The innocence and ignorance of what it took to be a husband, I was willing to take that on. Now that I know all the things that go into being a husband, we're not the same people. And so I'll always love her and have a tremendous amount of respect for her. I'll say some shit like that. But no, if we ran into each other right now, if I was visiting Arkansas, I would hug her and be glad to see her. And I hope she's truly happy in all seriousness, but no, that ship has sailed. And even for the person I was talking about when I moved here, we fell out over different reasons. I mean this on the bottom of my heart. I hope she's found happiness. I really and truly hope she's found happiness somewhere. Now I don't think she could ever find anything as good as me, but
I
you
knew
know,
it was coming.
well, and when I'm not even joking with that, oh no. Sometime when you the ones for some people, and this is where my arrogance shines. So that's why I say I have no problem with self-worth. Even my ex-wife, I won't say she's settled, so to speak, but he ain't as good a husband as me. He ain't as good a man as me. I don't believe that for one moment. I am and will always be her first and true love. Circumstances didn't work out. And I believe the guys that came after me, they're just trying to measure up to who I am. And I damn sure believe it with the chick. Again, I didn't have my shit together, but baby, even if you ain't watching, I know your friend is watching. You ain't shit without me. I know that.
I knew it gotta go there.
See,
I'm just
Go there.
you was going along just fine. You didn't have to put the
I
extra
knew
on
after
it.
that good moment.
I'm just saying, Carol. No, so that's what ain't nothing wrong with my self worth. I'm fat, shit. I might even be old and I got some problems, but trust and believe, this engine still run. And ain't nobody gonna do that pussy like I did that pussy.
Lord help us.
Everything
Moving
you.
right along. Moving
It was
right
so
on.
sweet for 5 minutes.
I'm a sweet guy.
Boy,
with an asterisk. Put an
We go.
asterisk right there.
Oh, shit. We'll close out by just looking at, on a serious note, for some, for individuals out there that hopefully take from the show. How do you recognize when you have settled? How do you know when you have settled, and some of the signs, things to look for? And we'll go through these fairly quickly. One of them is talking about when you've ignored red flags. It asks, do you find yourself ignoring your partner's bad behavior? And red flags can manifest in many different forms, such as gaslighting or controlling behavior, but they can also often be written off as quirks in favor of preserving a relationship. So, and you guys will speak on any of these as you like to. I'll just comment that for couples out there, if you really are contemplating whether or not a compromise versus settled, think about it from that perspective. That person's, red flags that were probably always there. But do you just kind of, well, because I think about sometimes how men in this case talk to women. Oh, he always just talked to me that way. Once you've kind of normalized that behavior, sweetheart, it's not. In all seriousness, I joke a lot. I want anybody to hear my sound of my voice to hear this. I use that term, bitch. I promise you, with every part of my being, I never would call a woman I'm with a bitch. I say this jokingly on this platform, but when I'm with somebody, I'm all about terms of endearment, believe it or not. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, baby. That's really who I am. I barely raise my voice. I don't like to argue. I don't go to bed angry. And I believe in showing the ultimate respect, even when a person makes me angry. I don't ever go out and tell, you know what that bitch did? I don't believe in talking bad about your mate, because it dishonors you more than it dishonors them. Any man that goes out after having an argument with his girlfriend, his wife, and go tell his friends, family, that bitch, this and that, you're dishonoring yourself, in my opinion. You know. So ladies, if you're, and then for the men too, if she or he is talking ratchet to you and you've normalized that to where, oh, that's just the way we talk to each other, that's not normal. And you might then be in a situation where you've settled. Compromising your core values. Anybody want to speak on this? Because I think this is especially important to recognize, if to say that, hey, I might have settled. Anybody?
I think I'll speak on it. If you don't want to be yourself at all and do everything that the other person wants, but sacrifice who you are as a person, as an individual, I feel as though you're settling, because you're not in a relationship for both of you. You're in it for that other person. And I know some people say, oh, happy wife, happy life, all that. You still have to be happy within yourself. And if you're happy with yourself and the decisions you making with the other person, then it shouldn't feel like settling. But if you are in a relationship and you're like, oh, I have to do this because he wants me to do this or she wants me to do this, then you're settling because you don't want to do it and you're not happy with any decision you make.
And we're going to talk about what actual compromise look like here in a second. Carol says it's not acceptable over here. We treat each other with respect and respect each other's feelings. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Same here.
And I'll say about compromise your core values, the one line says it all. Our morals and values define who we are.
Yeah.
It's just that
That's
simple.
that's
Go ahead, Tasha.
that's what I was gonna no, that's what I was gonna say is if you are with someone who makes you do something that you would normally do or take part in, I think about people who get caught up in those abusive relationships, and then they end up doing, something more drastic, or even maybe nothing so heavy, like to where like they, get you into something like crazy, stealing and things like that. But I think of um when you're feeling pressure to bring an additional person into your
Wow.
bedroom,
Wow.
because to me that's like that one falls into that, like you're settling because this person is essentially telling you, like they need somebody else in there because they need for you to spice it up.
Tasha, you just knocked on the door of two that was
Ooh.
right there. One was you've settled when you have a lack of fulfillment, and specifically unfulfilled sex life. Look,
Mm.
we all can agree. I think we ain't even got to spend a whole lot of time on this. Sex is a big part of a relationship,
Yes, it is.
and why are you doing it if it's not enjoyable? And why are you doing it with somebody that they don't make you happy and they're not fulfilling you, not fulfilling them? Now, that doesn't mean, to Tasha's point, that for me to be happy, I need to bring another person into the equation, vice versa. But again, if it's that bad, what are you in it for? You know, that
Or
is
when
go ahead, Tasha. That's a major one,
I'm
though,
sorry,
right there.
I was
No,
gonna say one other one, or when they tell you that you gotta accept that they cheat. You have to accept.
Ooh.
That's
yeah,
that's settling. Like, no, I don't. I can choose to be the fuck alone. I don't have to accept you and your bad habits and what other chaos that you may or may not create in the name of just being able to say that you're with someone.
Can I say
absolutely.
something?
Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I was listening to the Strawberry Letter this morning with Steve Harvey show. This lady was in a relationship with this man 20 years. Women come to up to this man. He's a 65, so he's not young. Come up to this man sometimes and say, "Don't yell and disrespect. I'll call you later," in her face. She said, "I will not leave him because he takes care of me." She's dealt with this for 20 years and he's 65. She's 50. So some people just settle because you're getting taken care of, which is crazy. I know people say money can make you do whatever, but to be disrespected in your face because someone takes care of you is crazy. And I didn't realize first, I was like, well, these are young people. But when I heard that today, I'm like, 65 and 50 is not young.
Age has nothing to do with it. Again, if you've normalized this, and I've jokingly said sometimes, if you keep calling a dog a fucked up name, eventually the dog is going to come to you and respond. And if you do that to people, bitch this, bitch that. That's why I wanted to be clear. I jokingly say this on the show, but I would never really. Why would I even want to be with somebody that would even respond to that? Because again, that's a dishonor to me. And so, folks, I promise you, I'll just be joking, saying all this shit. But when I'm in a relationship, I'm a lockdown status kind of cat. But okay, some of the other things is hoping for a change, and this is a
Mhm.
big one. I think to know when you settle, when you do the relationship comparisons. If you
Mhm.
find yourself in a relationship, but you always comparing what you have to what another couple have, that's a major thing to look at. And if I'm on the receiving end of that, if I was a boyfriend or a husband, I'm getting out of that relationship,
Mm.
Uh,
you know, because if you keep telling me, well, look at what they got, and we drive this kind of car, and how come we don't go on vacations like that, and this, that, and the other? If you're it's one thing. It's okay to want to do better things together, whatever, to make incremental improvements, but don't compare what we have though to another couple. You know,
Oh, that especially you settled when you're comparing your relationship to another couple who ain't got shit. At least he don't beat on you. That's the minimum. That's seriously
woo.
the
That's human. Don't beat my ass.
or at least at least I know who my child's mother is, or that one to that's not you've settled.
I'll add this, Hannah. There are couples that feel the exact opposite, that he doesn't really appreciate me unless he does rough me up, because that's how he shows affection. Oh, I'll
What?
see your mouth open. That's real. There. I broke up with a girl one time because I would not get physical. That's not in my DNA. She, Albert nodding his head, so I'm sure he might have experience.
They
I've
put
been with somebody that wanted that level of chaos and violence, and I'm not willing, because for them, who she had been with, that was normal. The fighting. I see you, Bert. You want to add anything, my brother?
Yeah, they don't feel they don't feel like it's that you're showing enough emotion in the relationship unless you cuss them out, unless you put hands on them or something like that. They don't feel like you're really that into them. It's like a
it's sick.
It's sick. Yeah,
it's sick.
It's sick.
And again, it is an ugly thing to be a part of that. Long story short, I had somebody I was serious about who had gotten out of a relationship with an abusive person. We dated for 7 months. She voluntarily went back with the guy. The truth of the matter is I was not enough of the drama and this and that and putting marks and choking her up, not choke the bitch sexually, but she wanted to be choked on some violent type shit. And that just ain't my thing. Carol says, I've heard that sadly some women want that and it shows they are loved not. And again, I've seen it. And then it's what's even more happening, believe it or not, it happens with women do it as well. Sometimes the abuse is not physical. Sometimes the abuse is verbal.
Yeah.
And it's worse.
It's just as bad. One of our family members, I don't think she would mind me sharing this with you, this is not embarrassing what I'm about to say, but this is about growth. One of the things I talk to my sis about is how you talk to your husband. Watching our mom, she took some of those traits and talked real rough to her husband. And one of the things I talked to her about, this is years and years and years ago, was that there's nothing attractive about that, and again, it's doing you a disservice when you got a grown man that you talking to that way. And I think she would even tell you now that she's made a complete about face to be respectful. That don't mean they don't argue. They still have arguments. But again, the disrespect and the verbal abuse, because that's the same thing, And Tasha and I both know somebody right now that as long as the man is doing good for her, he's the greatest on earth. Tasha's smiling because she knows what I'm talking about. But this person has a Dr. Jekyll personality that when they don't do what they want, niggas ain't shit, that motherfucker, that sad ass, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm single today, and it's the same abusive shit. You know what I'm saying?
I know a couple like
that. I'm keeping it real. So let's close out on a positive note. What are some examples of compromise? Because the show itself was really just talking about how to differentiate the differences between what a compromise is versus settling. So I'll just name some of these things and you guys can speak on any one of these 5 things. Compromise is like planning dates. It says it's important to take each partner's preferences into account while planning dates. For example, if your partner is a vegan, they mean checking ahead of time and only scheduling dates at restaurants that have vegan options. This may mean going out of your way to that person's favorite restaurant because they have vegan options. So planning dates, you're not settling if you opting to show enough love and respect. I don't want to be the one commenting on that. Planning dates, expressing love. I love this one. You and your partner may have very different love languages. Learning to speak their love language can help them feel loved and cared for. Another one, dividing household chores. Do I need to say more there? Spending time together. You may prefer this. This one I think touches me and Tasha. You may prefer to spend your weekends doing outdoor activities, whereas your partner may prefer to catch up with friends and families or doing nothing. Splitting up the holidays. If both your families are expecting you for the holidays, you and your partner may have to work out a compromise. Anybody want to speak on any of those? And these are just some good examples of what a compromise looks like versus settling.
I'll speak on one. So my love language is giving. So like, I know people like, oh, you this and that. If when he eats, I make his plate. That's how I feel. That's how I'm going to do it. I have friends and even family who have a problem with that.
Right.
However, I enjoy it and he doesn't mind it. Now, if he said I can make my own plate, this and that, then I would probably have to respect that.
Right.
It's just something I do. Also, if I plan a date, I try to do things that I know we both can enjoy, but he would like if it's me planning it. Cause I just feel like if you're planning something for the other person, you should always make sure it's with something y'all both can enjoy, but more so them. So that way you're showing your love and you're also having fun together. Because what you don't want to plan is something that you both hate. So I feel like compromising is good. Even sometimes when you argue, I know that sounds crazy. You might have to compromise. Like we can argue, but you don't gotta yell to the top of your lungs. We can argue
Absolutely.
to a level. And some people are very boisterous. I'm very boisterous. Bird's very boisterous. But we have learned to communicate in a way that we're not offending each other, but we're still getting our point across. So I feel like in every aspect, even something so small, you should compromise. If I cook, he'll clean up the dishes. Or if he don't, I'll clean up the dishes. Like there's no, now I'm not taking out trash. I'm not compromising for that. I'm not taking trash, pumping gas, and none of that. Some things I'm not compromising. I'm not taking trash, doing tires, and pumping gas. But I cook and
I
bleach
don't
this
blame you.
down. But
I no, I'm with you on that because
yeah,
I
but
believe in defined
it's not
roles.
compromise because he wouldn't allow me to do that
There
because
you go.
the
There you
man
go.
he
You
know
selected.
I
You
have a son
selected somebody. There you
18
go.
in September. So if he's tired, busy, he my son can do it. So I feel like at certain points you don't have to compromise, but certain points you should compromise, but make it mutual.
Absolutely. I'll say this on the spending time. I'm gonna tie them all three together: spending time, planning dates, and holidays. The compromise for me is, and this is not settling, it's that understanding who you with. Understanding who you with. And that's where that simple thing could go a long way and not to be settling. If for me, for example, I'm not a holiday person. You baby, go. Be with your whole family, go as much as you want. Um, I for me, being home and doing nothing is my everything. That's my peace. And so it's not going to bother me if you go, you doing me a favor in a way. If go spend the holidays with them, leave me at home. Bring me a plate back. Bring me some food. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I'm okay being by myself. And then even if you go on a vacation, who would plan a vacation if you're together with something the other person is going to hate? That don't mean they're going to like everything about it, but you certainly want to plan a vacation. Tasha and I are best friends, and we used to go to the movies every Friday, and we would alternate and pick movies and talk about the other like a fucking dog if the movie was bad. You pick that bullshit, you know what I'm saying? But as friends, it was just common that we don't want one person get to pick the movie all the time, and we're best friends, and so like even we going on vacation coming up together, and so again we know how we move around each other, so and we have the love of a friendship, and so it's about knowing who you're with, who you're traveling with, and being respectful to me. I'll let you guys add any last things to it. If none,
I'll say for the as far as like the family one, and I forgot whatever the last one was that you read, but
splitting up the holidays, spending time together, dividing the household
that
chores.
splitting up like the holidays and then the like getting together with family. You have to understand, I have no problem meeting your family, but me fully ingratiating myself into your family, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not doing that again.
Gotcha.
So I will, like you go spend holidays with your family. I'm going to go spend holidays with mine.
But you already named the compromise. That's what I like.
Yeah.
You didn't say you wouldn't meet the person family.
No, I didn't say that.
So there's the compromise.
I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to be super close with your mom. I'm not going to be super close like with your my brothers. I'm not going to be close with your wives.
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
But again, I like that the compromise is I'll meet them. You know what I'm saying? And be courteous and nice. But then again, that person would have to know that this is Tasha. This is so if you look for somebody that's gonna be best buddies with the sister and the aunties, she's not gonna do
Not,
that. She's not gonna do
gonna.
that. Bert, you want to add anything in closing, my brother?
Yeah, I'm more of a homebody. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't feel like doing nothing. But she want to run out there and all that and do all this stuff. But I gotta get, it's give and take. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you just like, yo, listen, it's been a long week. I just want to not do nothing. But then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, you need to rest. Next thing you know, we out there ripping and running.
But I do say you need to rest.
She do say it.
I say you need to rest. But
she acknowledges it.
But then he'll be like, if I leave out and don't do, and he'll be like, I'm gonna go. He secretly want to go deep down inside.
And I love that he makes the sacrifice, even though I'm sure there's many times he said, I would rather be at home. Because again, as a husband, you have to make that sacrifice. Sometimes you have to go. Carol says, holidays, we always got to go to both families and spend time with them. Vacations are for us to enjoy. My husband's a homebody, and I like being outside.
Oh, Miss Carol,
my wife we were very opposites, you know. She was outdoors, an avid reader, you know, and like to be in the sun. I'm a night person. Anybody I've ever been seriously involved with, we were actually very opposite. I always pick women that, you know, they're cold natured and, you know, and I'm hot natured, you know. And so again, having those differences, but you have to compromise and to make it work. So that's why I wanted to do this show, because Tasha and I, we just wanted to kind of highlight that. People talk about all the time, I've settled. There's a big difference between making compromises for a healthy relationship versus, okay, you're settling and you're giving up things like your core values and sacrificing things that you know are making you unhappy or are stifling you from being happy. So those are some things. So I hope when people go back and watch this show, they can tell the difference. Feel free to talk about these things and enjoy, because that's what we do here. Lastly, as I close out, and we on the other side of Wednesday now, there will not be a show on Saturdays. I have to work this Saturday. So yeah, so this is the first Saturday I've ever had to work for the company. So I'm kind of dreading it a little bit, but because I got to work by myself too. So, but it is what it is. And even though I'll get off at like 6 o'clock, I'll be damned if I'm gonna work all day, then come and sit and talk. I know that's right. I'm not gonna do that. So so again, we'll be back not Saturday for those who are watching, next Wednesday, which means we'll do another a topic that's a little bit more on the serious side, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? Me and Tasha might switch it up. We might turn a Wednesday into a fun show, you know.
Fun show, yeah.
You know, we might do a fun show or something. But in either case, you know, again, I hope that you guys everywhere, anybody's watching, hope you're getting some out of this, you know. We do enjoy having these serious conversations, and we'll close out by saying what we said at the beginning. We're not relationship experts, folks. We just throw these topics out here. We hope you benefit from our experiences. We hope it generates more conversation once the show ends with each other, with friends. You know, something will stick and say, hey, we were talking about this and that, and hopefully it'll help to help somebody else. So we missed some of the family tonight, but man, thank you, Han and Bert, for showing up. Tasha as well, and Carol, appreciate you as always, and Brother Kenny popping in. So, folks, we are on the other side of Wednesday. You know, so hey, you know, love you guys. Everybody enjoy the rest of their night and have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the weather. I hope it's nice where you're at. It is 80-something degrees here in Atlanta. It's a little too hot for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's too, you know. When I was out this past Saturday, it was absolutely gorgeous. I like the 60s. Yeah. You know, the 60s as a high, then at night. It's like 83 degrees in this mother. So, you know, when it gets to be that hot, everything with a hole in it is going to be out. Here in Atlanta, more disease. You know, I ain't even kidding either. You know, they've been waiting for an opportunity. So, men, women, close up some of them damn holes. You're funking up the community out there. So,
wow.
You said positive note.
Wow.
That is positive. That's a PSA announcement. You know, close your ass, close your mouth, close your legs. You know, do the community a little bit of favor. Stop spreading funky disease. And don't forget to, for your men out there, clean that gooch. That little area between your balls and your assholes. Make sure you clean that area.
Get
Okay.
off of this internet.
Outlaw it.
Until next time, folks. Peace out. Peace and love. All right. Peace out. Love you guys.